So, after that first episode, how surprised would you be to find out that my first spark of interest in Kamen Rider was because I heard about a roaming ska band who fights giant monsters as superheroes? Even though I didn't properly watch Hibiki until this past year, I first heard about it while it was airing from a message board I frequented at the time. I was talking about my fondness for electric guitar bards, and someone on the forum brought up Hibiki, mentioning that it had two guitar-based heroes in it. I already knew that Kamen Rider existed, but only in the form of that thing that they adapted like Power Rangers when I was a kid. While this sparked my interest, I was hesitant to watch the show because I thought that all of Kamen Rider was a single ongoing series. I had to see it in order, like One Piece or DBZ. It wasn't until years later that things like Doctor Who and Atomic Robo managed to get the idea of jumping on points into my head. So when I finally was able to jump into the world of Kamen Rider, Hibiki was one of the first shows I downloaded, but I wasn't ready for the style yet. See, even though I'd been an anime fan for years, I still didn't know much about traditional Japanese culture, which Hibiki has in spades. I tried watching a few episodes and got confused by things as simple as the way that Hibiki would play his taiko drum, that taiko drums even existed, things like that. I decided to watch some other Rider shows instead. Fast forward about 4 years and I was finally ready for Hibiki. But now I knew the reputation it had. I learned about the mid-season stats changes, the late-game plot changes, the fact that it wasn't originally conceptualized as a Rider show at all. I was okay with all of that. What I wasn't ready for was Inoue. See, in the middle of my Hibiki watch, I took a break to watch Fies along with a podcast I like. Shout out to Rider Club Radio. I'll put a link here or something. And my opinion of Fies is, well, for brevity's sake, let's just say not great. So, I finish Fies, I get back to Hibiki, and I learned that the writer of Fies, Toshiki Inoue, wrote the ending to Hibiki. This slowed my progress through the show simply because I was around the halfway point and I was dreading the late game changes from Inoue. Guys, Hibiki was supposed to be my favorite Rider show, and Inoue ruined that. It didn't even make my top 5 because of the way it ended. It barely makes my top 10, and I've only finished about 14 Rider shows total. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the show, but for as much as the very concept of the season was in sync with my very being, the fact that I've seen 9 Riders that I liked more than it is a travesty. The show was easily on track to be in my top 3 until Inoue got his hands on it. If it weren't for the ending that the show got, my top 3 at the moment would include Hibiki, alongside O's and Gaim. But as we stand, it's O's, Forze, and Gaim in that order. I absolutely loved everything about Hibiki before episode 30. The very moment that Kyosuke appears and begins speaking, I knew that Inoue had struck. I went online and spoiled the ending of the show for myself before actually watching the episodes. And I'm glad I did, because if I hadn't known about that ending in advance, I would have thrown my Kindle into the wall when I got to the last episode. I'm not going to spoil the ending to Hibiki in this video, because it is a show worth watching in my opinion, but at the same time, I cannot explain just how deeply disappointing that ending was for me. Hibiki, at its core, was a superhero show where the hero and title character is actually a secondary character to a civilian protagonist. The real protagonist is a high school kid named Asumu Adachi. Asumu becomes friends with Hibiki, and Hibiki becomes a mentor figure for him, a sort of father figure that Asumu didn't have in his life. And if Asumu's mother had it her way, he would be Asumu's stepfather too. Side note, everyone in the show has a crush on Hibiki. Everyone. At the end of the day, Hibiki was a good show with a solid concept and a stolen ending. I should note, however, that I haven't seen the movie yet, nor have I rewatched the Hibiki episodes of Decade since finally watching The Real Thing. I might dedicate a separate video to those if I have enough to say about them. If you liked this video, do the usual YouTube stuff with all likes and comments and whatever. If you have any suggestions for future videos, leave them in the comments or at me on Twitter. I'll put a link somewhere here. As of now, it looks like my next vlog will be about Samurai Flamenco, but that's always subject to change. In the meanwhile, keep an eye out for some Let's Play stuff, and maybe some other surprises if I can get them out. And remember, be excellent to each other.